Hi guys, good day and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, you're welcome. My name is Oluwatosin, and to all my returning subscribers, you're also welcome. Thank you so much guys for always stopping by my videos. Thanks a lot for always coming back to watch my videos. So in today's video, we are going to be talking about how to cut and sew this gorgeous, cute and adorable Ankara short maxi dress that you are seeing on your screen. Without talking too much, let's jump right into it. So to achieve this, we are going to be working on this Ankara fabric. Then we'll be using this sugar lace. Then we are going to be needing a pattern paper as well. And basically, these are the measurements required to achieve a dress like this. So the first thing we are going to do is we will be marking out the shoulder. This person's shoulder is 14, so I marked 7. Then I proceeded to marking the armhole. I used 7 in this case. After then, I proceeded to drawing out the armhole curve. Then you measure the bust divided by 4. I added 1.5 inch sewing allowance. Then this person's half length is 16. I used exactly 16. I did not add any allowance to the half length. Then I proceeded to measuring the waist as well, divided by 4 plus 1.5 inch sewing allowance. So basically, this is just me trying to draft out the half length, because this half length is what we are going to be using to bring out the sugar lace at the back. So basically, after doing this, the next thing is to mark the neckline. This neckline is not totally important, it's just to serve as a guide. So I used 7 divided by 2. For the neck width, I used 3.5, and then for the neck depth, I used 1.5. Then I just marked out a round neck. Then I proceeded to cutting that out. So from the shoulder line, go downward with 2 inches, then 14 inches, because the sugar lace is not going to cover the whole of the half length at the back. Then connect these 2 points into straight line. From the middle, go inward with 3.5 inches, and then on the other line I went inward with 7 inches. You remember that this pattern paper is on fold of 2. Then connect these 2 points together as well. Then from that point you are going to connect it to the armhole. I used dotted line initially, and then I just proceeded to cutting that out. So I'll be keeping that side apart because I'll be needing it to cut the Ankara for the lower part of the dress. Then you cut out that piece, transferred that to my sugar lace. I added like half-inch allowance to the down for joining it to the Ankara, and then I just proceeded to cutting. Don't forget that when you are cutting, your sugar lace or your whatever lace you are using has to be on fold of 2. So this is what I have when I was done cutting that. Keeping that aside and moving to the Ankara, this is like a fold. Like I folded my Ankara on bias like a 90-degree flea, and then I folded for front and back at the same time. So this person's chest is 11. So I'm going to be measuring 5.5 because it's on fold of 2. Then I added 2.5 inch allowance. This is going to be like my starting point. So just connect that, like draw a straight line on that point. Then depending on how low, like how off you want your dress to be, I want you to be like 6 inches low from my shoulder line. So I just put the 6 inches upward, and then I proceeded to marking the armhole. I used 9, so I marked 3. Then the next thing to do is I don't want the neckline completely straight. I just made it a little bit curved. Then the next thing to do is to measure the full length. Do not forget that 6 inches is off already. So you're going to place your tape rule the same way I placed it, and then for my full length I'm using 36. Then I brought out the full length, and then I just cut it out. This is just me trying to bring out my perfect full length, the normal way you would bring out a flea. So after this, the next thing to do is just to cut it out at the lower part of the dress, but at the upper part you're not going to be cutting for front and back together. So you're just going to split that part that I'm splitting open, and then you are going to keep one aside for the front and then the other one for the back. So I'm keeping the one for the back aside now. This particular one I'm cutting out is the front of the dress. And you remember that it's going to have a little bit split at the chest line. That was why I added that 2.5 inches. So when I was cutting out for the back, I thought my camera was filming. I didn't know it was not filming till I was done cutting. So I'm just going to explain what I did. So I brought back the pattern that I kept aside that I said we'll be needing to cut the Ankara for the back. Then I placed it on the half length. From the up, I measured the half length, which is 16. I placed it on the 16. Then that part that my finger is touching is the 5.5 plus the 2.5 inches that I marked and cut out for the front. I hope you guys get what I'm saying. Then I placed the sugar lace on it as well. Then remember that when I was drafting out pattern for the back, I from the shoulder line I went downward with 2 inches. This was the same thing I did here as well. So before cutting out that piece, then I extended that part upward and just proceeded to cutting it out. So basically that was what I did. I hope it's clear. So that is it for cutting that part. The next thing to do now is I'm going to be cutting like a piece that I'll be sewing on that part. Then this is it. I'm going to be sewing a piece on that part. That Ankara is not going to be there. It's just going to be the sugar lace and then these two pieces on each side. I hope you guys get what I'm trying to say. Then I'll be cutting another piece for like piping that part that the tape rule is on both sides. That's going to be the first thing I'll do, and then I proceeded to cutting. I'll be using this particular piece. So basically we are done cutting. So when I open this up, this is what it's going to look like. I'm going to open up the sugar lace and then I'll be opening up the Ankara as well. So this is what is going to look like when I'm done cutting. So basically that is it for the cutting. The next thing is to go to our sewing machine. So the first thing we'll do is to pipe those two sides with the Ankara. I'll be piping to the right side. So the right side of the Ankara is going to face the wrong side of the sugar lace, and then I'll sew and then just pipe it to the right side of the Ankara. I'll do this, sorry, of the sugar lace. I'll do the same thing to the other side. And then when I was done doing that, this is what I have. I have something looking like this. This is the wrong side and the right side. The next thing to do is to gather the whole of that into the sugar lace. So firstly, I'll put a notch at the middle of the sugar lace and the middle of the Ankara. Then I'm going to pin the two notches together. And then from that point, I'm going to mark 4.5 inches downwards on both sides. Then I'm going to put a mark at that 4.5. I'll do the same thing to the other side. And then I'm going to exclude that 4.5 and gather whatever is remaining into the lace. I hope you guys get what I'm saying. So 4.5 on each side. I'm not going to gather 4.5 on both sides. Yeah, so after doing this, I have something looking like this. And the next thing to do is to attach the two straps on both sides. And to do this, I'm just going to be sewing the straps on their own separately before attaching it to the dress. So I'm just going to fold like the way I'm folding, and then I'm going to sew that down. And from that point, I'll measure 2 inches, and at that point of 2 inches is where the strap is going to be attached on both sides. So I'm just going to do that. Then when I was done doing that, I have something looking like this. The next thing to do is I'm just going to match down the point where I attached the sugar lace to the Ankara. So I'm just going to sew it down from one side to the other. This is actually optional. You can choose to ignore that. I just decided to sew it down on the right side. So I'll keep that aside and I'll move to the front panel. Okay, so for the front panel, I have to pipe the neckline, like the chest, the neckline on the front piece. So I told you this person's chest is 11 and what I have here is 12. I'll be needing half inch on each side to attach it to the strap that is going to serve as a sleeve. So I'm just going to notch the middle of the strap and then the middle of the front panel of the chest line, and then I'll be pinning the two notches together, and I'm going to gather all of that into the strap. It's going to have a little bit of pleating. That was why we added 2.5 inches when I was cutting the neckline. So after that, I'll keep that aside, and then I have to pipe that part where my finger just touched. That's like the neckline for the back panel. So I'll be piping it together with the strap, just like I'm doing. I left like half inch, and then I took one strap, went to the neckline, put another strap, and then I'll just trim it out, fold it over and stitch it down. It is that simple. I hope you guys are getting what I'm doing. So after doing this, I have something looking like this. At this point, my dress is already coming along well. The next thing to do is to attach the strap that is going to serve as the sleeve. Now this is going to come from the armhole and then the front, then the back, and then the back armhole. So to do that, I'll be starting from the armhole. I'll pipe the armhole first. After piping the armhole, you remember that when I was cutting this front panel, I made 6 inches off, like I left 6 inches. So I'll be measuring now the 6 inches inside this piece I'm using as the strap, like I'm using as the sleeve, 6 inches for the front. And that 6 inches, the point of 6 inches now is the shoulder line. From that point, you remember that when I was cutting for the back panel, when I was cutting the sugar lace, I measured 12 inches downward. So I'm still going to measure the 12 inches on this strap. So 6 inches and then 12 inches. I'll put a notch at that point. Then I'll flip the wrong side of the front panel to the wrong side of the back panel, wrong side facing wrong side now. And then I'll proceed to piping the armhole for the back of the dress as well, starting from that point where I notched. I hope my explanation is simple. I hope you guys get what I'm trying to say. So I'll just proceed to piping the armhole for the back as well. And when I'm done doing this, I'll cut out the excess, like whatever is remaining from the strap, then proceed to folding it over and then stitch down. So I'm just going to fold it over to cover the stitch, and then I'll stitch it down just like I'm doing from one armhole to the other. That's from back armhole to front armhole, or from front armhole to back armhole, however convenient. So when I was done doing that, I have something looking like this. I'll repeat the same process to the other side, and after all being said and done, this is what I have. And don't forget that when you're attaching it to the back neckline, you're going to like sew that piece you used to pipe the back neckline inside it as well. The next thing to do is to shape. So just put the two panels together. Now right side is going to face right side, and then you shape from the armhole. I used like 1.5 inch. I shaped, and when I was done doing all of this, I have something looking like this. Look at this dress. It's so cute and adorable. Thank you so much for sticking with me from the beginning of this video till this point. I hope you found this video helpful and interesting, and please don't forget to share this video amongst your soulmates. You don't know who this might be useful to. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.